Hi, Victoria. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, this is so fun. Thank you so much. I love talking to you. We've been talking like an hour before we started
I know.
recording.
Oh my gosh. Well, I really love connecting with other mom entrepreneurs, especially when they just have this level of energy and passion like you do. So, can you tell us a little about your mission right now and how you became an entrepreneur and what you're doing?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think I would have to start. It started after college, really. I went through a path, I grew up in New Jersey and I went to school in New York City, and I sort of found myself after college really just in this spot where, I can kind of be in this tri-state area forever. I had a job right out of school and I got really, really itchy to kind of do something different. And I remember really clearly, I was in a working for a big television network inside a cubicle. And I had this like tipping point moment where I was working for a bunch of producers, and I was looking for one of the talent that was, one of the stars of one of the show was coming to visit New York. And I was on the phone looking for a restaurant that serves lobster for lunch, right? Because this guy was very high maintenance, would only go to a restaurant that served lobster for lunch. And I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And it was really this moment where I was like, I have to get out of here. I have to get out of here. And by coincidence, I had this calendar on my cubicle that was scenes from China. So, like the Great Wall of China and Guilin and Hong Kong and all of these different, like really beautiful, National Geographic kind of images. And I just made this decision of like, I'm going to move to China. So I ended up rearranging my life to go teach English in Beijing, which I did for a year. And then once I did that, it kind of started me on this journey that has absolutely shaped my life, um, and really sort of threw me into the world of entrepreneurship. And so after a year in Beijing teaching English, I realized I hated teaching, like hated teaching. And I became really hungry to find a different opportunity. And the transition was really tough. But I ended up finding a marketing job with two boutique hospitality developers. And it was the first time that I ever really worked with entrepreneurs. And they had fundraised a bunch of money. And I remember being so incredibly dumbfounded as my like 20 whatever year old self, being like, so this person gave you like millions of dollars to build a business? Like I couldn't put the pieces together. But I loved working with these two guys. One was from Australia, one was from California, in Shanghai, in the expat community. And we built incredible boutique hotels. So for the next 6 years, I was working with them as, a marketing assistant to a marketing manager to a marketing director. And when you're abroad, I feel like things move a little bit faster. So before I knew it, I was managing, their head office and for marketing, and we were building a bunch of really exciting projects across China and Sri Lanka. We're developing resorts and developing boutique brands, which was really, really cool experience to be understanding the tenets of what makes a spectacular brand and what it could do for you to create a really high class brand, right? Like a real world class brand. And through that experience, I had amazing opportunities. We partnered with Paris Hilton, Richard Branson, the Million Tree Project with Jane Goodall. I opened up a partnership with Lufthansa, the German airline. All of this because of this incredible brand that we had created. And so I understood that. And then through working with these guys, I was able to go, they were part of EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization, which is an international entrepreneurs organization. They snuck me into their meetings. And there's like an operating system through EO of entrepreneurship. And I got so interested in that. So that really started me kind of falling in love with entrepreneurship and working with entrepreneurs. And then over the year, I've had incredible opportunities to work with really powerful, really well accomplished men with specific leadership styles, some good, some bad. And through working with these incredible men, I saw this deficit in a lot of what I was seeing on the ground in the female entrepreneur communities I was a part of. And my passion, I really had this sort of flip that switched for me, where I was like really passionate about like taking what I've learned from some of these most successful men that have built incredible businesses, where we've run had these amazing partnerships, rung the bell on $1 million, revenue months. So taking that when it comes to marketing, all of those secrets, all of those systems that I've used, and really apply it to the women that I was seeing really struggling to get out of that 6-figure realm to sort of break the, ring the bell on their first million in their business. Mm-hmm. So that's became my mission, right? Helping to put those pieces together, take all that I've learned from these incredible experiences and really simplify it and boil it down to its most basic parts so women can start implementing these systems in their business. And I've sort of put my own spin on it through the years, interpret and kind of organize a marketing department and a marketing strategy and how to build that world-class brand, and have dedicated my life to helping women build this for themselves.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is just so fascinating that you just took this initiative to change your life and it led to this really cool string of events. And then now the light switch went on that, hey, maybe there's a skill set or maybe there's something that men have been taught or somehow learned that women need to know so we can start up-leveling our businesses. I mean, now you're doing events with influencers like Jenna Kutcher and things like that. I mean, dream events, which is wonderful. So what do you think are some of the unique challenges that female entrepreneurs and mom entrepreneurs have? Like, what is it that you think is kind of the stumbling block for us?
Well, I think there's two pieces of the puzzle here, two major pieces of the puzzle. One is really the tactical piece. Mm-hmm. When it comes to marketing, there is a lot of noise, mm-hmm. and I think it can be extremely confusing on how to execute like everything that there is for marketing, because marketing is the piece that takes a founder's attention the most. Oftentimes it's the one that really the piece of the business that really influences the revenue and really like is the jugular for the business. Mm-hmm. So understanding how to build a profitable sales focused marketing program inside of someone's business in a really tactical way that is systemized, that is a proven system, that is what I teach. And that is what I think is table stakes for sort of building a successful marketing program and a successful business. Mm-hmm. But the other side of that is what we were talking about before we started recording, confidence. Mm. The number one difference between men and women that I've seen on average, because since starting this work, I've had unbelievable opportunities to work with some of the most accomplished and confident women in the country. But if we look at like boots on the ground, what do I see as the biggest difference? Mm-hmm. Is women feeling confident enough to sort of step into the role of leader and CEO of their business instead of spinning the plates, doing everything themselves. Because a lot of this overwhelm and a lot of this burnout, it's actually a product of how we are running our business and the way we run our business. Most of that actually, when we look at it at brass tacks, is the marketing stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's the biggest, I think it's the heaviest department you have in your business in terms of what needs to be executed, right? There's so many pieces of marketing.
Yeah.
And so the confidence is what holds us back from building teams, delegating, trusting ourselves to take care of employees, for example, or team members, making decisions,
Mm-hmm.
investing in ourselves in our business.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all does tie into confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of conditioning too. I like to add that, it's like confidence to break from the conditioning that we have to be
Exactly.
all of the things and do all of the things and know all of the things. Um, yeah, I think that's so much of what I see too. And so I love that you're saying that. So, what is one of the biggest missing funnels, that marketing funnels in our businesses that could be elevating our businesses that we're not implementing?
Okay, so this is part of one of the core things that I teach.
Mm-hmm.
And so over the course of my career, right, I started this incredible journey in China. I had 6 years working with these founders. But after this 6 years, and I'm aging myself a bit, but I started my journey in about 2007. So it's been quite a while. But what I've done, like after working with them, and that was really hospitality focused, but for the past 10 years or so, a little bit less, I've really branched out and had the opportunity to work in almost every different type of vertical you can imagine, from cybersecurity to e-commerce to interior design to food and beverage. And what I have done is sort of piece together what I believe to be the core marketing system that you need for your business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I call it the 24/7 marketing flywheel. I actually have like a free guide that will go through step by step how to build your own marketing flywheel. You can find that at Ugli Ventures. So Ugli Ventures is my business, UGLI, ugly with an I, ventures.com/overwhelm. And you can download this step by step guide. It's totally free.
Oh, yeah.
But so before I go into what that is, I want to explain why a system is so important. So having one overarching system for how you create your marketing program is going to help you tremendously with knowing if you're building out everything that you do for marketing is actually working together with in a common direction with a common goal, right? So everything we execute in business should be part of this core flywheel. And what ends up happening is when we start executing things in marketing, a lot of times we're just like doing things for the sake of doing things, or we're throwing spaghetti against the wall, and we're not actually building a full thriving flywheel, right? That's going to be churning like perpetually to bring more leads and more like opportunities into your business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the core of a lot of the burnout, because we maybe start paying attention to metrics that actually don't really matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
We start executing things that maybe are like not going to yield the results, or it's not going to help sort of bring people through this journey to buy with us.
Mm-hmm.
So by executing everything in marketing against like a proven system, which is this 24/7 marketing flywheel, we know that everything we're executing is moving in the right direction, moving in the same direction. And so the 24/7 marketing flywheel, it's a 6-step system. And there's a lot of variations on this. It's not something that I made up, but through executing this system in different ways across different verticals with different types of businesses, different types of leaders, I've sort of synthesized these 6 steps into the flywheel that I think are the most important.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find, it sometimes is called the client journey. There's a lot of different versions. This is my version. So the 24/7 marketing flywheel is, what are these 6 steps that prospects take from first knowing about your business and what you do, so that brand awareness, all the way to converting, right, purchasing with you, and then becoming like a raving fan. So the 6 steps are, first is the awareness phase. And the awareness phase is, how are we reaching a brand new audience, like each and every day?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a lot of times the piece of the puzzle that's missing for so many people. because there's only a couple ways that we can really reliably get in front of new audiences. So we can be spending money on ads, which is getting us in front of brand new people, right? We can be, optimizing search, so SEO, and that could be from our website or through our social posts or through YouTube or through Pinterest or whatever. But we could be actively creating a program where people can find us, our prospects can find us through search. So that's SEO. The third is leveraging other people's audiences. So this is through partnerships or through being on podcasts or whatever, right? And the fourth is, yes, you can find new audiences through social media, but there is a very specific way in which you reach new audience through social media. And so I kind of put social media as an awareness strategy, but with a caveat, because algorithm changes is like with the algorithm changes, it means that, content's going to be pushed out to new audiences in a different way. We cannot control. That may change from month to month. And so you need to be creating very specific kinds of content that's going to get pushed out to new people on your respective social platform. So there has to be a very conscious strategy built around that. So that's awareness. That's the first stage. The second stage is engage. This is how are we pulling on people, connecting with them, so they sort of make that story in their mind that connects your business to their problems, right? So we want to be engaging with them. We want to be, grabbing them with hooks that are going to grab their attention, and then with the aim of getting their email address. So this is usually in the form of like a lead magnet, right? This could be like a promotion, but more times than not, it's a piece of value that we are giving for free in exchange for email address. And the reason why that's so important is because the third phase, which is the nurture phase, this is where we're building the relationship, but we are building it in a way that's going to help move people through the sales process, right? So the way we move people through the sales process is we create content in a specific way that's going to first, make the client sort of have that connection between, what do they think their problem is versus what their problem really is. We talked about this a bit before we started recording, right? It's that chocolate and broccoli scenario where many of our prospects, they come in thinking their problem is one thing, but us as experts, right, with our product or our service, we often create these solutions because we understand the problem more deeply, and that's why we do what we do. And so we need to help bridge that gap for our client, for our prospects, and that is going to help move them closer to making the decision to purchase with us, right? We do this through adding value content, through, maybe we are posting on social media regularly or with value-based content, blog posts, maybe we have a podcast, maybe a YouTube show. But most importantly, we're sending emails to our email list, building that relationship, right? That's the nurture phase. The next phase is invite. So this is another piece of the puzzle that I see a lot of women skipping, where we get into this rut of just adding value, showing up all the time on social media, churning out the content, but not consciously creating sales-driven campaigns a handful of times throughout the year consciously. If you're in a product-based business, I feel like this comes much more easily, right? It's the Labor Day sale, it's the Father's Day sale or whatever. For service-based businesses and B2B, I find that this is a piece a lot that is skipped. If you're a consultant, if you're a coach or whatever, a lot of times we feel like shame to just ask for the sale, but we have to. The point is we need to do it in the order, right? We need to be able to invite them or sell them, right? Once they have that context and they can make that match that we're for them. They understand that context, how we can solve their problems. After that is delight. So we need to construct a outstanding experience. And this is where we want to make sure, once we make the sale, the marketing doesn't end there. A lot of people kind of think that it does, but there's so many ways that marketing can affect the experience of working with you, either if you're like a coach or a consultant, or even like if a product-based business or a SaaS business, right? If it's onboarding campaigns or if it's, boxing for products, like there's so many ways that the marketing can affect how that client or customer feels during the experience of working together. And then last but not least is advocate. What systems do we have in place for getting those reviews, getting testimonials, and or getting our happy customers to help fill that pipeline again with referrals and things like that. So these are the 6 stages. As I said, at uglyventures.com/overwhelm, there's like a whole guide, but this is the core system. Now within this larger system, this is where these smaller funnels will lie. So if you want to create like an abandoned cart funnel, that's an example of one smaller funnel. Or if you want to just create a drip campaign after someone gets into your email list. So they're small funnels, but what I want to help entrepreneurs do is zoom out to the bigger picture. So this marketing flywheel is that bigger picture. And the really like critical piece for not sort of feeling overwhelmed by all of this is just taking it bite by bite. I say for entrepreneurs, we understand what our 24/7 marketing flywheel is. And then what we want to do is pull it into our quarterly goals. And we want to say, okay, in one quarter, we're not going to be able to build out this full flywheel in a month. We want to look at it and say, okay, bite by bite, we're going to create a full and thriving flywheel. That's the job of the entrepreneur. And then once that's built out, the job of the marketing and the founder really is to optimize this flywheel. And that's it. And I think that's where we can start to feel a little bit, we build our confidence and we start to feel a little bit more relaxed in the process because we know, okay, we have all of our bases covered and it's not going to work perfectly at first. So our job is iterating and improving on each piece, right? The awareness phase is, am I getting, am I connecting with the right people? Are they clicking on my ad? Are they converting into leads? Like we look at this funnel and we can mark these 6 stages and we look at the conversion rate at each stage and the metrics at each stage, and we'll be able to understand where are the weak parts of this flywheel, and that's where we can focus our attention. So that's the core piece I see as being the most important to kind of implement in your business.
Well, I love how you've kind of created this framework for us to think about the bigger picture. And there are lots of elements to that, but I think that you bring a lot of clarity to all of those elements. So one thing I was thinking about as you were talking, when you zoom out to the bigger picture, what can we call that? Is that the transformation we want to give? What is that bigger picture that we should kind of have our mindset on?
Yeah, you actually hit the nail on the head. It's that.
Okay.
Because I love to quote Donald Miller, who created the story brand. Are you familiar?
Oh yeah. If you're not if you're an entrepreneur and you don't know about Donald Miller, get this book.
Yes. He's a brand. So he has this brand story, story brand framework that he uses. And it's really all about this, right? What is the transformation we're offering? But what I love about his work and what I've seen on the ground in real time is it doesn't matter if you're a B2B company or a B2C. It doesn't matter if you are a roofing company or if you are a vitamin company. The client, your clients, your customers are always looking for a transformation. And there is always an emotional element to what we choose to spend our money on. And in the example of like a very easy example to kind of to pull this through is, I love to give this example with the founders that I work with, is like a cereal brand, right? I'm in Costco, I'm in carton going down the aisles, and my kids love cereal and I never let them eat cereal because it's all full of crap. And there's like one brand, there's a couple brands that have come out recently that are, healthier and more protein and all these things. And I connect with these brands. It's more than just wanting to give my kids like a cereal that's not full of crap. They connect with me because in my interior, I connect feeding my kids healthy food with being a good mom. I connect feeding the kids healthy food with them like not only being a healthy mom, but like them living longer, them being healthy as adults, like me giving them that gift. I want to be able also to be the responsible one to, I want to be the teacher to them, right? So it plays on all of these emotions that I have inside me. And it's so much more than just choosing a cereal. And I love the grocery store for that. I love paying attention to the boxes and the brands. I mean, when I was little, and this is probably the reason I became a marketer, I have such vivid memories of sitting on the floor in the bathroom at my grandparents' house. And they had under their sink, like all of these products. Like they would buy so many products. You know, those people that I'm a very vigilant person of like, I'm not going to buy a new like shampoo until I'm done with the shampoo I have. But my grandparents would buy tons of stuff and there'd be like used a little bit or whatever. They love to buy things on sale. And I would just sit there and read the bottles because I was so fascinated by what are we trying to sell here? What are we communicating here through the copy, through the imagery, right? And the grocery store is a beautiful place to see that happen as well. Because when there's messages or taglines or images on the front of food, it's like it's all calling, right? We're at the grocery stores, it's such fierce competition. What we want to do with our brands is we want our perspective, our ideal client to look at our brand and say to themselves, this is for me. Mm-hmm. So you can see the next time you're at the grocery store, it's like, depending on the type of person you believe yourself to be, it's going to catch your eye, like maybe a font or an image or words or whatever, that's going to, out of all of the thousands of brands in the grocery store, it's going to pull your attention because it's going to connect with who you are and your values. That's why we go through these process of the ideal client avatar and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Because it really is the core basis for your, like all that you do in your business. Mm-hmm. And so to answer your question, we want to look at this bigger picture and we want to say to ourselves, how are we not only communicating this transformation, because every piece of this flywheel should be bringing to life mm-hmm. our brand. And the point of our brand is to be a representation of this transformation that we are promising. And so in the awareness phase, for example, we need to be creating ads, or if we're working with partners or we're creating content or whatever, webinars or on people's podcasts, what we talk about, everything we do needs to connect with this core person and give hints to what that transformation may be, right? When we're trying to engage with them and we're giving them a lead magnet, for example, you know, the copy that we use to convert people to give us their email address, that has to touch them in an emotional way and communicate that promise, right? That promise of the brand in order for them to actually take action, mm-hmm. right? And then if we go all the way into the delight phase, what we actually deliver to people has to offer that transformation, right? The product has to be good in order for all of this to work. So it is really important to look at that transformation on the higher level, but it's also important to say, you know, think of it like, what is like putting yourself in their shoes? Mm-hmm. How is your prospective client or customer, what are they digesting at each one of these stages? And you want to make sure that path, that roadmap makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you a good example, because there's a lot of times where, you know, if you're running ads for your business, this is an exercise that I don't think a lot of people go through. But when you're creating an ad, we have some idea of like what is best practices for an ad. And if you have an ads manager, that's great. But a step beyond that, a lot of managers don't go through, is connecting with your target client and then putting yourself in their shoes when they're seeing the ad. So if you're looking at someone on your advertising on social media to moms, for example, it's like, when do I look at social media? Honestly, I get to look at social media like when I'm stopped at a red light, when I'm going to the bathroom. We all do, right? I don't know, hopefully not before bed, but like there's these little pockets where if I'm looking at an ad or I'm looking at something, it's going to be like 3 seconds, like, and I'm going to I get interrupted or I have to put my phone down because I have young kids. So if you're trying to show me an ad, serve me an ad, convert me for your business, you have to understand that that's my life and that's how I'm going to digest your ad. So a couple weeks ago, I went through this experience where there was this productivity app that absolutely was, I'm their target client. And I was stopped at a red light. I saw their ad. I was interested. I clicked on it. But it brought me to a quiz that was their lead magnet. They wanted to tell me what kind of productivity style, whatever. I was interested. Through the light and driving as safe as I could, I did the quiz, but I started the quiz. It was like 23 questions. And I managed to okay, I had to put it down. I had to start. I was so committed that later in the day, I went back to it, which, by the way, never happens for prospects, right? And then after I submitted the quiz, they sent me these long, long emails of explanation and this, and I was like, I gave up. Honestly, they had me to a point, but I gave up because that marketing team or whomever in that company, they did not put themselves in my shoes. If they wanted to be getting to moms, right, in general, and actually it doesn't matter if your kids are young and old, we are so busy, right? Productivity, mom entrepreneurs, perfect target market. You have to understand, you've got a second to grab 3 seconds you have to grab people's attention, right? Our attention spans are so short. So you know that whatever the funnel, whatever the lead magnet or strategy is, it has to be quick, sharp, easy, concise. And of course, that's going to be different if you're marketing to different people, but you have to put yourselves in their shoes and understand where are they in each step of the journey? What's the context for them? And that's going to help move them through this buyer's journey, like I spoke of earlier.
Yeah, and I think that that's what's so hard, but I think we don't realize that our perspective is so important. Like we create somebody that's very different than who we are, right? If we try to imagine somebody who's very different than us. And I think sometimes we just also need to look at it like, if I saw this, what would I do?
And well, that's why I think a lot of really successful businesses are when the founder themselves are the target. So if you've created a product that you yourself needed or would consume, that is really helpful because you're already in their shoes. You know what their life is like. Right. You know what their values are. You know what their challenges are. It is very difficult to create something that's very far from you or your experience.
Yeah, it really is. I know we're coming up a little against time, but I wanted to pick your brain about if somebody's listening to this right now, hopefully they're going to download your checklist and begin to kind of look at where they can improve. But if somebody's just listening and going, what I'm doing in marketing is not working, where is it that we can put our efforts and our dollars most effectively? And it sounds like you've alluded to the fact that social media is not it.
Well, okay. Well, here's a really important piece. I think people are not consciously developing social media in the way that's going to be beneficial for their business. Social media has changed so much in just the past 2-3 years. And what I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing is putting a lot of time, energy, and effort showing up on social, doing lives, posting every day. And the results have really waned, right? And they're not seeing traction. They're not seeing growth. And if that's you, I want first you to ask yourself the question is, do I have my 24/7 marketing flywheel built? Because one of the main issues is that just doing social media by itself is not enough. It is not enough to convert folks into buyers. And one very practical thing I want to just make people aware of, people should be aware of this, but the social platforms' main business objective is to keep us on their platform. So that's why we see how difficult it is to add link backs to our website, that those are often very limited, because social platforms do not want people bouncing off the platform. They want people to stay on the platform. So with that, we need to make sure that, if we're using social media to reach new people as one of our awareness strategies, that we're building very specific content that's going to go viral, for example, and that's very specific types of content posted in very specific ways. Because like a reel, for example, on Instagram is going to be pushed out to the wider public, like much, much more, like versus a post on your feed, right? The post on the feed is barely going to get to everyone that follows you. So we need to understand the game we're playing in terms of what platform are we focusing on. And then we need to pay very close attention on how are we creating this content and how are we going to get it to reach the most people? And that's going to be watching closely on trends and what's going viral and hopping on trends and making content that people are really going to connect with, meaning what are your hooks? What is your copy? What are your images? And utilizing that as if they were paid ads at this point. Because we've come into a world where we've gotten much more sophisticated in general as a culture on social, and therefore it's much more competitive to compete for people's attention. But social media alone is just one piece of the puzzle. We need to be going through the flywheel. So we need to be engaging with people. We need to be getting into their inbox. So then we therefore nurture the relationship, because the inbox, the reason why that's so important is because when we have an email list, that's an asset in our business that we own. We don't own our followers on the respective platforms, right?
Yeah.
But the email list is an asset. Even if we end our business and start a new business, we can always take that with us. We own those contacts, and those contacts are opportunities. So we need to have, our awareness stage that feeds into that engage phase where we're building that like, know, and trust factor inside people's inboxes and through our nurture program. Then we need to be asking them for the sale, right? And actually getting them to convert. And oftentimes that can't just all be done in social, right? I know that even nowadays, like I see folks that have posts that go viral and get a lot of attention. They've grown a lot of followers on Instagram, for example, and it doesn't translate into sales because they don't have the rest of the puzzle built out.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. And I think you said something profound in that we should look at what is technically free in creating a post on social media like we would paid advertisement. We are much more strategic where we pay attention to the messaging. We pay attention to the bigger picture more when we're like, oh, but we should look at our time that we're spending on that social media as currency,
Exactly.
that effort.
Exactly. And that's why when I say, social media could be the biggest waste of time is because you have to be extremely strategic. I think before 2020, before TikTok, it was enough to just be there, just like quantity over quality. You just wanted to be there, engaging, giving value or whatever.
Right.
Now we live in a world where it's quantity and quality. We need the quality because people are, again, really, the competition is fierce. There's so many really talented creators across all the social platforms. And what you can see is this trend again of like, we have advertisers constructing organic posts like advertisements, and they are outperforming, you just kind of like throwing up any old thing, right? And so if we are going to invest in social, A, we need to make sure that we've got our flywheel built out, but that B, we're not just paying like a niece or just a general freelancer or whatever to do the social, that we have a defined like strategic plan for the content for social and how that is going to grow our leads and sales. And it's not enough to just be posting for the sake of posting.
No, I love that. You have, given us so much detail and content and helpful information today. If there was a takeaway that you want to leave with listeners today, what would that be?
Yeah, I mean, the takeaway is really building out your 24/7 marketing flywheel. to me, it's like, it doesn't matter what country I'm in,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter what type of business I'm in,
Hmm.
as over all of these years, and I've worked for about 10 years, after my China experience as a marketing director. I've worked as a fractional marketing, a chief marketing officer. So I've had to build many different teams for many different businesses. And the system of the 24/7 marketing flywheel is the shortest path to organizing your marketing program and understanding who it is on your team you really need and what success looks like. And without those basic things, marketing continues to be the source of the most pain and stress for entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
So it's the building out your flywheel, and I gave you the tools to do that. But the second thing to think about is really your brand, right? How have you created, and not just a brand in your logo and colors, but these piece that we're talking about on how are we connecting? How are we showing the transformation? How are we communicating the transformation? Because the successful marketing program has two parts. It's, do our prospects understand what we do in 3 seconds, really? Do they understand what we do and how we can solve their problem, right? That we're the right choice for them. And then the next piece is, how can I create this marketing system to kind of bring them into my world and convert them? So it's the brand piece and it's the 24/7 marketing flywheel piece, right? Or your client journey, however you want to build it out. Whether you do it with my system or someone else's system, you need to consciously design this journey for prospects. But on the brand side, if you go to ugliventures.com/resources, actually, there is another guide on how to build a brand that gets people talking. So I talked to you a little bit about, how I built a brand that attracted Richard Branson and Paris Hilton for partnerships, because there's a formula on that. And of course, I do recommend, of course, reading Donald Miller's book as well, because that is another great read for founders to have the context of how to build that story, right?
Yeah, I love it. You are a talented communicator about marketing and helping us see, cut through the noise, I think is a really good way to put it. So thank you for connecting. Thank you for sharing all of your expertise. It's been wonderful trying to digest and download all that you have to teach us. So thank you so much for joining us today.
It was so great to be on.
Yeah, thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.